my efficiency rating at that time was as close to zero as it could get. I mean, I was licking envelopes and peeling stamps off, and I would every morning 4:00. I'd wake up at 4 a.m., sit at the kitchen table, do that, and then jam a stack of 50 of these things into our mailbox before I headed to work with arthritis in my fingers after that. But somehow, against all odds, unbelievably, I got a deal.
On the show, we're going to sit down and talk about the metamorphosis that happens when you become a leader.
We'll share our biggest wins and our losses and interview other leaders to find out how they stay in charge without losing their minds.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Zach. Welcome to the Who's in Charge podcast.
I'm so excited that you guys are here. And Andrea, I get to meet you for the very first time, even though I've known of you and feel like I know a lot about you for the last, I don't even know, how many years? 7, 8?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I'm so excited too.
But welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Welcome here. Welcome. So Hunter, you and I have known each other for a while via Collective Genius and quarterly meetings and annual plannings and stuff together. Probably, I'm guessing 7 years. What do you think? Something like that?
Yeah. I would say about that long. It's been a while. It's crazy.
Right.
It doesn't seem like that long, but when you say it that way, it has to be that long.
I feel like it was before COVID. It must have been.
Was it?
Right?
Probably right. Yeah,
anyway.
right in that time range, kind of when at least I started kind of doing what we do. So I know you were a little bit ahead of me, but yeah, it was around that time.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we know each other from Legacy Homebuyers, which has been an awesome ride to come alongside you and see what you've been growing there. It's been awesome. So maybe you can kick us off a little bit with you and Andrea's your love story. How did you guys meet? How did this whole Legacy Homebuyers thing come together? I want to hear the deets.
Oh man. Yeah, how did the Legacy Homebuyer things come together? That's a funny story. I guess to start about how we met. So, Andrea and I both went to the University of Arkansas. She's from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm from Dallas, Texas. But U of A had like a big, Oklahoma contingent and a big Texas contingent there, and we had mutual friends. I was playing football and she played soccer. And I got invited to a Friendsgiving one night, actually by one of her teammates who I was kind of dating at the time. I don't know if we would call it that, but kind of. And
he was definitely being talked about.
Yeah. And I was like, I haven't met her and I like her a lot more than the girl I'm dating. So I didn't talk to her at all. This was like 2 years before we started dating. And so I didn't talk to her at all, but we just knew each other for a long time. Fast forward a couple of years down the line, we finally get together and kind of started dating for a while. She moved to Dallas. She graduated U of A a year ahead of me, and then I moved down to Dallas after I graduated. And yeah.
What did you guys study?
What did you study, Andrea?
I studied communications at Arkansas.
Yeah. So she was a communications major and I did business administration. So I focused in finance and marketing, which I use, like a lot of people, zero of what I like majored in, like zero finance almost, other than punching numbers into a calculator and Excel spreadsheet. But I came out of college and went to work at a commercial bank working for a loan officer. And I just started noticing that like all of our like top clients, like, they had cool, like they would come into the bank wearing jeans on a Tuesday and just like sit down and like meet with somebody. And I'd look up their accounts and they were like our top clients, and all of them were doing real estate at the time. And this was probably early 2014, 2015, somewhere in that timeline. So I kind of caught the real estate bug and I literally just Googled how to invest in real estate without any money. And just started watching videos on, going down to logging on to the county and getting code violation lists and start writing handwritten postcards to, people with high grass. And so Andrea was, very supportive, but I think very skeptical for a long time because I would wake up.
Were you guys married now? Like when you started doing this, were you already married? Or were you still were you just getting serious?
We were
Good question.
we were
No,
we were
we
serious.
weren't.
We weren't married yet.
Not married
But
yet, but living together. I had moved in.
yeah.
So Andrea has like, one of the things I'll say about her is she has like the biggest heart and is one of the kindest people I've ever met. She moved to Dallas to take care of her two grandparents that lived here in Dallas. Her whole family and like a lot of her friends were back in Tulsa. And she actually moved to Dallas to take care of her grandparents who actually passed away shortly after she did that. She moved in with them. It was, she kind of spent her grandparents like last years taking care of them in her house. They had passed away, and I'd say pretty quickly, Andrea, right? Like, within 6 to 8 months after me moving back from college, I was living with my mom and dad, and then you were now living in this home by yourself. And so I think I moved in with you shortly after that time period. So we were obviously very serious, and then engaged a couple of years later, and we were married in 2017 and started having babies after that. And we've got 3 of them now. So time's kind of flown.
What were you thinking? Oh, go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
No, so you were working for the bank while you started to send out mailers. Is that what you're saying?
And working for a bank, watching.
Handwriting the mailers. Every morning at the kitchen table, he's sitting there writing these out, and he had printed out, like a picture of the house. And I was like, well, that's like the creepiest thing. Like, what? Nobody wants to get a picture of their house. I didn't know what wholesaling was, but it sounded like, what are we doing here? But he sat there and he just did more and more research on like how to, and somebody really contacted him from him handwriting a letter to him, or hand addressing, I guess, the envelopes. You weren't handwriting the letters, were you? Or it was just the envelopes maybe. But anyways, I was thinking like, this is not going to work. And here we are. It's definitely taken off.
Sounds a little crazy. Dear old lady, I was outside your house and here was the photo. Here's the selfie of me at your house.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
My efficiency rating at that time was as close to 0 as it could get. I mean, I was licking envelopes and peeling stamps off, and I would every morning, 4:00, I'd wake up at 4 a.m., sit at the kitchen table, do that, and then jam a stack of 50 of these things into our mailbox before I headed to work with, arthritis in my fingers after that. But somehow against all odds, unbelievably, I got a deal. Somebody called me from one of those postcards. It was this little, this area in Dallas where, if you're from Dallas, it's called West Dallas, where there's just a bunch of tear down houses, and they're tearing these houses down and building up these really nice, like modern style, like duplex kind of houses. And I got a call from, an older woman who had a rental. She was a very, very religious woman, and she had become very unhappy with her tenant because she wouldn't tell me why. She just was very unhappy with them. And when I got out to this home, I understood what it was. It was a gentleman, that went by the name of, Bishop, because he was the pastor at the church next door. But what was upsetting this woman about Bishop was he also had a stripper pole that he had installed in his living room. And
Nice.
So he was the pastor of the church next door and running a strip club out of his house.
Wow.
So he had, the best of both worlds, as they say, going on. And that was my first deal.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So how did you buy it? How did you get the funding to do it?
Yeah, good question. I basically at this time knew nobody. I had no contacts. So I put the house under contract, and I just started going to like local, like DFW Facebook groups and trying to find somebody that could like help me, that could like, somebody on there that looked reputable, that could kind of help me figure out how to get this deal across the finish line.
Did you know what you wanted to do with it? Were you trying to wholesale at that point? Were you trying to fix and flip, or?
No idea. I kind of had vague ideas of both. And I was like, really, what I was trying to do was find a mentor, essentially. Now looking back on it is what it was, at least for that one deal, which I finally found. I found the guy. He called me. I put my number out there, and he called me. He was like, hey, is this your first deal? Have you done this before? And I was like, no, never. And he could tell, obviously, by the way I was, by my post. And he was like, all right, I will, like, let's partner on this. So we came up with a structure where we partnered together. And the crucial mistake I had made at the time was I forgot to, I basically forgot to say that like buyer would cover all closing costs. Like, so the end buyer would, we were going to wholesale this deal. And so my little woman here that trusted me with this thing, we're sitting here at the closing table together because I went to the closing, and she was getting hit with closing costs, like $3,500 worth of closing costs. And the way that I structured this deal with this mentor of mine was I wasn't even going to make $5,000 on this deal. It wasn't going to net anything really. And I just had to come out of pocket and cover her closing costs as well, because she was getting hit with them. I promised her she was not going to get any hit with any closing costs. That was my whole pitch. So I made basically nothing on this first deal, but it was definitely a learning experience, and kind of the start. What it really did is it just kind of allowed me to realize that it's doable. This is a real concept. This isn't a fantasy land. You can really go direct to sellers and provide your services and buy homes at, discounted prices and fix them up and flip them and sell them for more. This was like a strange concept to me that I was still trying to very much figure out. And that first deal at least kind of made it like a real concept for me, even if it wasn't profitable.
What were you thinking during all this, Andrea?
I was just thinking, like, I hear him on the phone with these people, and it seems like a lot of the situations can become very chaotic. So people can be irrational at some point. And I was just thinking, like, this is not going to work. We're not going to get this. But he made it further than I had originally thought. And then he was listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos to try and figure out the rest of it and how to actually make some money without having to try and find somebody to help him. But it is funny because he started off saying, like, I will never flip a house. And that's later we realized
Look at you now.
that
times have changed.
Now that's basically all he wants to do.
But I want to go back to, I love that story and the idea of like, how do people get started? I think people have that kind of, we talk about analysis paralysis, right? And how many people are building the plane as you go? You don't have to have it all kind of figured out, right? And that oftentimes it takes a little bit of grinding. You either have time or money to kind of start something out, and you're starting off with, you're making the time, right? 4 a.m. I don't know if that's your normal wake up time, but it's not the time I'd choose to wake up if I didn't have to, so making that time to make something happen, and going out and kind of figuring it out. And I love that you're supporting kind of through that, even through the uncertainty. Like, we don't have a clear path of exactly how this is going to work out, but kind of supporting each other, through that. And I think integrity has kind of like followed you through from that first transaction all the way through to where you guys are today. Kind of the heart of your business is, doing what you say that you're going to do.
Absolutely. And, what you just said is directly in line with kind of like an initial, like a light bulb moment for me that told me it was like, I was on the right track. So fast forward a little while, not too much further, but I got a real mentor, like one that I actually paid for. It was like a coaching program back in the day that was very popular. I'm sure we all know would all know it if I said it, but that mentor of mine, he said something that stuck with me, and he basically said, hey, when you get in your car and your plan is to drive to work in the morning, do you sit in your driveway until every single stoplight that you would have hit on the way to work turns green? Or do you just get in your car and you drive to the first stoplight? It might be green, might be red. If it's red, you stop. If there's a detour, you take a turn and you keep going and you get to your destination. And he said, whatever you're trying to do in business, whether you're starting a business or climbing a corporate ladder or whatever it is, you can't be paralyzed by the analysis that's going on in your head, and you can't wait for like every star to align for you to start. You just got to start, and you got to go, and then you figure it out, and you're going to run into obstacles, and you just figure out how to solve them and keep going. But you can't just wait until every possible obstacle that you can think of in your mind is clear.
And so dealing with that journey, really kind of from like that first deal, right, to, work at a W-2 to then leaving the job and starting kind of a full-time business. Did you guys work together? Did he try to pull you in? Did he try to pull you into doing some of this with him? Talk to us about that transition.
Yeah, so it's funny because the mentor program that he paid for, I kind of started to do it with him. And like, I was practicing a cold calling script with him. I was learning how to, pull the list, from the foreclosures. And I was like ordering the mail for him. So I was at first like, yeah, let's do this together. And then I'm just like not the type of person that's going to be like, sell it to me for less than what you really want. I don't know. I can't do that. I'm not a salesperson.
That big heart.
Yeah. So I think after he realized like I wasn't going to be able to like get on the phone, and I'm also not going to go out to a property by myself and meet these people like he would do that. But I think we just realized like I can do some admin stuff, but I'm not going to do a whole bunch of crunching numbers and all of that to figure out if it's a deal or not. And so I kind of faded off, and that's when he realized he needed to bring someone to actually help him like grow the business.
Yeah. And she had a work from home job at this time, with a big Fortune 500 company. She was managing like disability claims on the phone all day long. So she is good on the phone, and but it's like almost the opposite take. Like she is, instead of, in negotiations, a lot of the time you have to be able to push. You got to be able to push hard and kind of stand your ground. And she had a job where she was managing like disability healthcare claims. And so she was used to soothing people and like kind of being her normal self. And the plan originally was, because I was working an office job, I would go on my lunch break and sit in my car, and we would make calls from these people that have left voicemails on my whatever phone system I was using at the time. And she would listen on mute as I speak to these people to kind of learn how to talk to them, because she was essentially, before we even knew the concept, she was going to be a lead manager, basically a lead intake specialist. And then we, time went on, and we kind of just decided that wasn't going to be a fit for her. And she ordered all of my lists and kind of organized our mail and all of that kind of stuff for quite a while, actually, for a while. So she was good at that admin part, like she said, but, I kind of handled the phone aspect and then the acquisition work.
I think it's really important to identify early what you really like to do and where your core genius is. And if it's not in that seat, right? Like, do not do it. I think especially when you're working with your spouse, right? Like that can create a lot of friction and potentially disappointment, which I think no matter what happens in that moment, like if you decide, oh yeah, we're going to work together, or no, we're not. I think that requires a level of honesty that is just a really important milestone, regardless of like what happens next,
Are we allowed to ask you guys a question?
Absolutely. Sure. Bring it.
Okay. Cause I know you guys you guys started the thing together too. I know a little bit about the story, but what were your original breakout roles like when you guys started? Who was doing what and handling what part of the business?
I'd love to see if we remember the stories similarly. Cause I swear in the beginning, I literally feel we used to have like opposite schedules. And so she would work weekends and I would kind of work alternately throughout. And I almost feel like it was just like whoever is available. Like it was when we first started, like, all right, you're working in the hospital today. I'm not. I'm handling the crap and whatever comes up as it comes up. And then as it continues to kind of grow and evolve, like what's difficult about her is she's just good at everything. So it's almost like if we have to be like, all right, what am I better than her at? Like, all right, I don't get any jobs. You get all the jobs. So it really just comes down. So it really comes down to like, where am I just totally weak in, and where my weakest area is, then she could kind of help out into there. And so definitely like procedural stuff. I'll let you take it from there. But that's how I remember the start, and then that transition to like you handling transactions and anything that required details.
Yeah, dispo. Yeah, in the beginning, we definitely shared the role, answering the phones, meeting homeowners out there, negotiate. It was just really whoever was available. We would just trade off. We both could do both. But in the end, I feel like I enjoyed the operation part more. And so I kind of stuck in the transaction and dispo side the longest before letting those roles go. But in the beginning, it's just a little bit of mayhem.
It is mayhem. And Zach, I can empathize with your situation there. If you're looking at a list of tasks that go on in a real estate, a blossoming real estate investment company, and my job was to pick which ones I'm better at than Stephanie Betters, that would be a very hard, like that list would get whittled down very quickly.
It's a pretty short list.
Who's paying you? Who's paying you guys?
Here it is.
Short. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it. Yeah. But no, you're right. I mean, everybody has to do a little bit of everything in the beginning. You have to, it takes a unique person or partnership of people, or if it's a single person that can just kind of do a little bit of everything. And, obviously you're not you're not great at anything when you're doing everything, but you're maybe just good enough to kind of get by for a while. And I think that's, you just have to have that grit to be able to get through that phase.
For sure. And I think that's like a really crucial phase, I think, for any couple that's kind of starting and trying to work it out, is like roles and who's going to do what. And are you going to be in the business or you're not going to be in the business? And then I think the next thing that is a challenge for couples is leaving the W-2 job. Like facing that, like, should we do it? Do we not do it? Like all of a sudden there's all this risk and perceived opportunity and then perceived risk. How did you guys make that decision I'm assuming both of you were working at that time, and did one of you stop first? And how did you leave your job at the bank and make that transition?
Yeah. It was really hard and it was scary. We had our first child, our son, was born in 2019. So Andrea was still working at that time. And then we had our second kid in 2020. Our daughter was born, and we had decided she wasn't going to go back to work at that time. So it was just me, and I was working a private equity real estate job where I was buying multifamily apartments. And I had I was making an okay living. But it was certainly we were not like super comfortable for a long time. And all of my disposable income was going towards trying to start this business or trying to continue to, reinvest capital of the very little, money I was making at that time, on the business, venture. You got to reinvest all of that. That's not take home money. That is keep the business rolling money. And so, what really pushed us though was, I would say it was late 2020. So right around the time Andrea actually left her job, things were heating up on the real estate side, on the venture side finally. And it just got to where I was so busy handling everything that I was doing that I was kind of like neglecting my W-2 job. And it got to where like I had to like, it was like inconvenient for me to like respond to like my boss basically, and I was like, it's just not, it's not fair for me to be doing this to the point where like my boss calls me and I can't take his call right now because I'm busy, and so that was like my cue. It was like, man, whether it's time or, whether you're it's financially time or not, like it's time to go. And worst case scenario, you've got a college degree, you've got a master's degree, you can go back to work and you can get a job and it'll be fine. So that's ultimately what kind of pushed me over the edge, is just looking at what is worst case scenario, and it wasn't that bad. So I just took the chance. And
just
Andrea
rough estimate, like how many deals is this? How much revenue are you generating? Like, do you have the ability to like have a nest egg, with what you develop for the business?
Certainly. Yeah. Yeah. I would say, let's see, 2020, I bet I closed like 30 deals that year, 20 to 30 deals. So like 2 or 3 a month, probably something like that. I was wholesaling everything. I wasn't taking anything down. So you're talking 20 or 30 deals at an average of, $18,000 spread, probably something like that. Now, the beautiful thing is, your overhead is almost nothing because you're the only guy in the company and you're doing everything, and your marketing is very small. So it was a healthy business on the margins. And so we had finally started to have some cash reserves from that. And that definitely helped as well. I just knew that those cash reserves, if this was going to ever become more than just a side hustle, those were going to get used. That was not going to be money that was going to go to us personally. That was all going to be funneled back into the business, and hopefully you're getting a return on that investment. Otherwise you're out of business, so it was still uncomfortable, even though I could finally see the potential and I could see the traction starting to kind of gain some traction, and we kind of took off after that.
I think that was also the first year you bought your first house, Hunter, and then sold it. Remember that teardown? Because we took Pierce to it, and you were like, you and Pierce cannot walk in this house. Like, there's holes in the ceiling. And so 2019 was the first time you purchased that house, which was great because that was huge, from like starting with nothing at all, like not even being able to buy the contract if we can't find somebody that wants to flip it. So that was really neat. And there were a handful of times where we would be out on the weekend doing something, and he would get a phone call and he would need to go, have an appointment and see if he could get the contract signed. And so I would be sitting in the cars with the babies just in the back seat because we were out and about. And there was like a time or two where I was thinking like, this is kind of a sketchy part of town. He's been in there for a really long time. Like, I can't get out of the car with these two babies. Do I need to call the cops? Like, I don't know. But then he would walk out the door and be like, I got the contract. But there were definitely some interesting times.
What kind of discussions did you guys have at home about this? Like, how did you make this decision together to go all in?
I don't know that I don't think that I was ever against it, because I know how hard of a worker Hunter is, and he goes after what he wants and he usually gets it, like no matter what kind of work he needs to put in. So I was never like, this is a really bad idea, I don't want you to do it. And I also, like, still to this day, there are times when, the market's not doing super well. And sometimes he's like, I don't know, maybe we're just going to have to close the doors. I'm like, no, we're not. Like, you say this the same time every year. No one wants to buy a house right now. Like, everything is fine. That's a little dramatic. So I haven't ever been, but sometimes I'm like, I mean, how bad is it? Like, you need to be upfront with me, but I don't know. I feel like I've always just been all for it. Like, he's not gonna run us into the ground. I mean, he'll figure something else out. And worst case scenario, I can help too, which I have said to him. I was like, I'll come fill a role in the office, but I don't think he really wants that.
It was probably 2 years ago. She gave me a reality check where every November or December, so Thanksgiving, Christmas would roll around, and it's holiday season and it's the slow season of real estate. And I'd come home from work just in like a bad attitude. And this was probably, I don't know, it might've been as far back as like 2022 or 23. And she was like, two things are going to have to happen. You're either just going to have to realize that this is going to happen every single year in real estate. It just slows down during the holiday season, or you're going to have to change careers. Cause like, I don't want you coming home and like this kind of an attitude, or like just kind of being like Mr. Blues all Thanksgiving and Christmas every year. And I was like, you're right. Why have I not already figured it out that, we're in a very seasonal, type of work, and it just happens like that. So, I think that it took me some time after we got started to just kind of be okay with the ups and the downs, especially when you're starting out. And, it's never going to be perfect, but I will say that once you kind of keep hammering away at it, it does finally, fortunately, it straightens out for you, and you kind of get a little less volatile, and there's a little bit of less of the boom and the bust kind of stuff that happens when you're starting out, and it's smooth. But for a while there, it took a lot of patience on Andrea's part of allowing me to kind of struggle with those early ups and downs of just, euphoria and then panic, and then euphoria and then panic of how, everybody, what we all kind of go through from time to time when we're starting these ventures out.
The world of real estate. I think that's so real, because I mean, there are those ups and downs, and to be able to have the support of somebody that can understand it enough to be able to support kind of through those times. Because I feel like the same deal. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what about a supermarket? Are they always worried if like I just ordered a cow, like, is all this meat going to sell? Like, do they freak out every day of like, can I sell all this merchandise? I know I did it yesterday, but can I do it again today? I'm like, or is it just me that feels this way and freaks out?
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, that's exactly the feeling. It's tough and something you got to live with and struggle through. And then you just like hopefully we've all done by now at this point. And you realize if you're going to work with the delusional mindset that you're never going to run into challenges, you got a long life ahead of you. So just get accustomed to dealing with problems, and life's a lot better after that, because then you just expect them.
There's definitely a tolerance and like a thick skin that's developed,
100%.
We talk a lot about like building businesses and how do I win at business? And really, I look at what you guys have built in business, but also more importantly, like in life, I look at the idea of like, how do I win at life? And I think you guys have done such a great job of building, the business, your lives together, and you have the 3 young kids. And, I know a little bit of the background of kind of what you guys have going on in the background as well. On top of taking this all on, you guys are doing other things. You're coaching, you're leading life groups, you're doing, involved in some community stuff. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what you have going on and how you've been able to help manage some of this harmony of life between life and business.
Yeah, it's really hard. I was actually just talking about this with our team. I came back from CG collective genius. And one of the things that just kind of struck me in that room and that I took back to this, to my team here was like, everybody's busy. Everybody's got kids. Everybody's got weddings they got to go to and, graduation ceremonies, and you're coaching soccer and I'm coaching football, and we got crazy weekends and weeknight schedule. Everybody has this, and every employee in your company is going to have the same kind of lifestyle or the same kind of, different things going on in their personal lives. And what I have noticed is the people that are consistently high performers are able to just like, compartmentalize is the wrong word, but like they're able to just have a grasp of their lives and not allow the busyness of their lives to like overwhelm them. They're able to focus on things. And I think the main thing for like Andrea and I has been really helpful is just having like routines, like just a daily routine, a morning routine, like our natural flow, of the way that we move through our day. Right. So like I'll wake up and work out, come home, spend some time, get ready for work, spend time with the kids. That's like my time to kind of be with the family. And then I'm off to work, and it's been that way for years. And then after work, it's, practice and games with all the kids. And, but I feel like if she and I didn't have like a routine that we stuck to every single day, and every day was kind of, we wake up and see what's on the calendar and run a million different directions, it would be really hard for us to kind of steer our lives in a way that's like purposeful and like in a direction that we can kind of feel like we have control over.
I think this is the challenge of entrepreneurship, because it can take over your entire life, take over your entire day, your entire relationship. You're constantly stopping what you're doing. If you're, shopping on a weekend to answer a call, then you got to go to the appointment. Like, it very easily can take over. And that's why I get so excited to talk about this with couples, because we have to do that to some degree in the beginning. Like, all of us have to figure that out. And then you have to have some intention around, like, I'm not going to live my life in a whirlwind the rest of my life, and institute some like routine with each other and boundaries. And it's challenging. It's super challenging to do.
Very difficult to do, very difficult to do. So, but we've worked hard on it. I don't know, Andrea, do you have anything to add to that? I mean, I struggle with it. I struggle to come home and leave work in the office and then be home and all that kind of stuff. But anything to add to that, Andrea?
I mean, just Stephanie mentioning boundaries. I think that is good for any part of life, whether it's something to do with our schedule or the kids' schedules or anything. Like, today, it's so easy to get sucked into saying yes to doing everything and feeling like the fear of missing out on something. And Hunter and I have recently been having the conversations of like, let's just do what we want to do. Not like that we feel like we have to go and do everything. Like, if we were invited, like, we can say no, we can just have family time at home instead of being all crazy, because that helps our kids too, just being home and not having a crazy schedule. And the boundary of not picking up your phone. Like, Hunter he leaves his phone like in the bathroom when he gets home from work. So he's not answering work calls unless there is like something that's about to blow up. But yeah, it's just nice. It's refreshing that we're on the same page of, we're spending family time in the morning. It's time to get ready for the day. We're strictly business during the day. And then, if we need help with running to practice or grabbing a kid and taking another one here, then yeah, we communicate. Although he would say that I'm not very good about it, answering my phone.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about you guys, but we've been having this conversation lately. If somebody walked into my office and they were like, "Hey man, you've got to get your wife on the phone in the next hour or you're going to die," I would be like, well, I'm going to prepare to die then. This is going to be very, very difficult. This is going to be very, very difficult for me, because I can never get a hold of her. I can't get a, text message or a phone call. I'd be like, man, this is going to be really hard. But I know she's running around with the kids all day, but yeah.
What's that, Kill Bill? Prepare to die.
Yeah, prepare to die. That's what I'm doing.
I'll do better.
What are some of the non-negotiables you guys have for each other? I mean, we have young kids, well, not as young as yours, but we have young kids as well. And it's so easy to get caught up in either business or the kids. Do you guys have non-negotiables for each other to like, all right, how do we maintain our relationship outside of just business and children? Or is that just not the stage yet? We'll get there in a couple of years.
Yeah. I think a little bit of both is probably the right answer. Like, yeah, we're in a stage where we're very much running uphill into the wind kind of thing. But we would like to say we get to do date night once a week. Like I've heard some other couples I'm jealous of, but, we just try to make time for each other as often as we can. It usually turns into like once a month, maybe twice a month. Like we'll go to dinner. I'm fortunate enough. We've got my mom and dad pretty close to us and they're always happy to babysit. So like, I think just like definitely quality over quantity of time spent together is sort of where we are right now, just because we're limited. We don't have quantity of time. So we try to just make it quality time when we can. And then, we don't argue often at all, but I would say if we do get into any kind of argument, I think it's really important to both Andrea and I to not let things like stretch on for days at a time, because we don't get a lot of time together. I'm going to work and then, during the weekends we're running together games and practices and stuff. So if there's a disagreement, like, or somebody needs to apologize for something or whatever, I think we try to make that like happen fairly quickly, because time is limited with each other and we don't get it often. And I don't want to go days at a time if we're not in a good place. And so I think just like attacking issues or problems like head on when they kind of present themselves and like immediately has been really good for us, because it's just helped us to like maximize the time that we get together to just be happy and like enjoy each other.
Anything to add to that, Andrea?
No, I feel like he hit it pretty head on. I will say another thing is just, I don't know, he holds me more accountable than I do him, because he's so like disciplined and going, waking up and going to the gym every day. So I don't know. I really appreciate that he like encourages me every day to continue to push myself when it's something I want to do, but like he's always cheering me on in the background, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think it makes, first of all, it makes us better leaders at home and then better leaders in the business too, on how we can work together well and hold each other accountable in a loving way,
100%. And if you notice, she mentioned, she specifically said, I'm cheering her on in regards to like the working out stuff, because she has a trainer now for a reason. And it's because I've noticed that the husband as the accountability partner as to why you didn't work out today or something like that. That is not a good combination.
Marriage advice right here, folks.
Do not ask her why. Yes, she
100%.
She loves to exercise. She loves to be in shape, but I am not her accountability partner for that part of her life. I'm just a cheerleader. So we've
Wise.
We've learned that.
Wise man. Zach and I have gone through the same thing. He's like, well, because I don't know how to lift weights. Like I feel like boys learn differently how to exercise than girls when we're growing up. Like, I don't know, you just go on the elliptical or the treadmill. I'm like, well, actually that's not even remotely the most important thing. It's definitely lifting, as opposed to just cardio. And Zach's like, I'll teach you how to do it. I'm like, I literally cannot stand it when he coaches me lifting, and I just cannot stand it. Like, just, I feel like I'm getting grilled.
It's
like,
very
get out,
triggering.
just like, it's so triggering. Why?
Stephanie loves it when I tell her what to do. Just in general, she loves it.
I don't mind being told what to do, but by you and lifting weights, there's just something about it that's very upsetting.
It's a universal truth. I think it's just, I haven't met a couple who has said anything different than that. So I'm glad you guys are in the same boat.
On that note, I think something that's really, really important for entrepreneurial couples, and I'll speak for us in the same thing, is, and it's probably really for all couples, but it's just finding the joy and being able to break the ice a little bit and be silly, because there's so much pressure of the business that I feel like that's something that I've always really enjoyed with Zach, is like, I love to prank Zach. Like, if you want to talk about the ultimate peak joy, happiness, it's pranking my husband. It is the best.
She likes to find me when I'm like at the edge. She's like, I think he's at the edge. Let me see if I can push him.
Yes. I love it when he's on the edge and I can just, because I know he's never going to really snap, but it's real fun to see him close.
Presses. Yeah.
can you relate? How do you find joy?
Andrea, you speak to that, because the answer is yes, Stephanie, but I'll let Andrea tell you.
Well, the funny thing is like I have always enjoyed pranking him, and like throughout our whole relationship, like there's been he was even in a prank war in college with some guy, but I've always enjoyed like throwing ice water over the shower when he's like just turned it off, like things like that. Sometimes he'll get me back and take it a little too far. But recently, or within the last, I don't know, how long do you think it's been going on, Hunter? He'll come back from the gym at like 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning. And like 2 or 3 times a week, I'm trying to pop out and scare him, just like give him a little jump scare. You always got to be ready.
You got to keep on his toes.
Yeah, I do. And he gets me back
hide
sometimes.
on him?
Yeah, I hide. Sometimes in the dark.
She's not
try
lying. Yeah, I'd say if I go to the gym 5 days a week, 3 of them you can bet she's in the pantry hiding, or she's she's like behind the kitchen island or something, just waiting on me to step around this corner, because she's gonna pop out at me. Three days of the week, and you would think I would learn, but like she gets me probably at least half the time.
She's very wise not to do a 5. It's only going to be 3. You don't know which 3 it's going to be.
Yeah. So there's no pattern recognition.
Yes. Yeah.
Bingo. Exactly.
Walk through your house like fearing for your life, like always looking.
Are you guys competitive?
Yeah. I would say both athletes, right? Say we are.
Yes.
She definitely likes to beat me at things. And I was gonna say too, when we were on the topic of pranking, like she likes to beat me at things, and then she also likes to see me like get injured, basically, like hurt. Like if I hurt myself, that's the best comedy of the day. If I fall, trip, or hurt myself in any way, that is like prime material right there.
It's like America's Funniest Home Videos, just live in your house.
Basically.
It's hard, to be together for so long and then find new ways, like I find joy. I think that's what TikTok is for, like for inspiration on just ways to just drive so good.
That's why I have to stay tuned with TikTok now, just so I can know most of the time if something's coming. Like, already seen it. You can't get me. I've already seen it. I know what's coming.
One day we're having like a relatively serious conversation in the kitchen, and I just started talking to Zach in Taylor Swift lyrics.
I will never get them.
It took him a really long time, and he's like, "Wait a minute." I think it was Mastermind, Taylor Swift Mastermind, yeah. and he was like, "Well, before about
that you'd be able to go a long ways on me with that one too, because I don't know how often you listen to Taylor Swift, Zach, but it's been her earlier hits. Maybe I had a chance of catching lyrics, but if it's like later Taylor Swift, Andrea would be able to go a pretty long way on me too, before I'm like, what are you talking about? What is happening right now? And then you see the phone in the corner that she's set up. She's filming the phone over there. You're like, this is.
Do you catch the pranks? Do you catch the scare pranks?
Sometimes, not really, because a lot of times he will see my phone, and if I don't have my phone close to me, or I don't know, if he sees it set up straight, he knows something's up, and he's like, I see the phone, nice try. I would like. That's
the new challenge. I would like to see 30 videos of Hunter nearly peeing himself by the end of the year.
The scare pranks, Zach, I would say like. The reason I said she hits about half the time because I kind of get paranoid in the mornings, and so there are mornings when I walk in and it's an off morning, and I'm like, I open the pantry and I kind of throw the door open and kind of step around like this. So if you were to observe me in my kitchen most mornings at 6 a.m., I would be paranoid, like throwing doors open and kind of flipping lights and stuff, and that's what I'm doing. Is I'm looking for where my wife is hiding.
That's just as funny.
I know, that's just as good. Really. Yeah, exactly. You're like snug in your bed and he's being pranked all by himself.
100%. She wins either way.
But it's so important, I think, to just to have some levity, because I don't know, it there's a lot there's a lot on the line and a lot at stake, and sometimes just the pressure of it all can be really overwhelming. And I don't know. I'm glad to hear that you guys do that too, because it's a true source of joy for me. Free good, clean fun. That's what it is.
Clean fun.
100%. Yeah, definitely. So other than the TikTok, Taylor Swift, Stephanie, or Zach, if you retaliate, how would you retaliate on Stephanie with a prank?
Stephanie is a very difficult person to retaliate on because she's so competitive. She's almost rendered me like, I don't know where her end is going to be. So it's like, I almost don't even want to go there because she's going to dirty one up me the whole way through until like, all right, somebody's going to get her. I love this girl so much. I'd like to stay married forever. She's going to one up me until I submit anyway. So I will just, most of the time we'll save the hassle and kind of take it on the chin. But
somebody's going to wake up with no eyebrows or something at some point, and it's going to be too far.
Right?
Yeah. I would never let him win. Yeah, no. You're dead.
Yeah.
I'm curious for both of you to each answer this from completely your own perspective, because obviously you know each other's perspective to some degree. But if you saw yourself, what is it, 6-7 years ago?
Jeez.
When you were first starting, and you're trying to get the thing off the ground, you're trying to make the decision about leaving the W-2, and imagine you're kind of speaking to that person again. What advice would you give yourself or somebody else in that same role? Andrea, I'll ask you first.
Okay. I would just really say, I don't know, stay positive and speak to yourself. Oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? But encourage yourself and know that you're trying your hardest, and positive self-talk, and affirmations is the word I was looking for. Because eventually, after telling yourself all the time that we can get through this, we can do this. And if it doesn't happen, then you figure out another way. But I don't think stewing in, if things aren't working out, I don't think stewing in the negative is any good for anybody. And so just staying positive and kind of being a light for your family and to continue to push through.
Yeah. That was good. For me, I think I would say two things. Number one, the imposter syndrome that I would tell myself, the imposter syndrome that you're feeling right now is kind of never going to go away. You're going to keep getting better and doing better. But that part is, at least for me personally, the imposter syndrome never goes away. And so don't allow that to have a negative impact on you. Just understand that that's how you're going to be wired. And that's just always going to be a thought for you. But things are going to be hard, and then you're going to push through, and it's going to be okay. And then, you're going to get to the next level, and then things are going to get hard again. You're going to push through. It's going to be okay. It's just kind of a repeating loop, has been what I have noticed thus far. And then secondly, what I would tell myself is, Andrew and I's plan always was we want to be married, and we want to have family, and we want to have kids. And, don't lose sight of why you're working so hard. Don't let that become the thing. You're working so hard, and it's important. Your work is important, and I enjoy it. I love what I do. I love going to work, but don't lose sight of why you're working so hard. And it's for your family. It's for, financial security, but more time security. I can coach my kids in basketball. If you've got a basketball tournament on Friday, I don't need to go ask my boss if I can go to that game or not. I'm going, and that's why I'm my own boss and why I'm running a business. And, just don't lose sight of all of that, because I think it can become really easy at times to get so, wired into what you're doing and forget that at the end of the day, I go home and my kids are happy and healthy, and I've got a happy wife, and, we've got a good family, and that's the most important thing. And that's kind of, where I would say is just make sure you're always looking at your North Star.
I love it. Just to fast forward, because we talked a little bit about like hustling, getting the first deals and doing 30 or so before you left your job. Where are you at now as far as team and deals that you're doing? Like say it out loud so you can hear it for yourself. Fast forward 32.
Yeah. It's crazy. We're in, coming up on, right at probably 10 years in business. That first deal I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation is about 10 years ago now. And we now have 16 full-time W-2 employees, 4 acquisition managers, 3 lead managers, couple dispos, couple TCs, and we are we're doing really well. We'll probably clear, I'd say, somewhere in the range of 250 deals this year as a team. And I mentioned to you when we started, when I left my job in 2020, it was 25 to 30 deals a year. So I've come a long way, and it's been super fun. And we've built this with all these people, Stephanie, because you've been involved with our business for a long time, but like the quality of people on our team here has been what has got us to that point, because, there's only so much I can do as one person. And to get to that level, you really have to just kind of have really good people that you're working with, which I've been really blessed with, is just super, super reliable, dependent people that I work with every day.
I love the zoom out, because it's just incredible to know, to think about all the things that you can achieve in 10 years. It's so hard in the beginning. It's so scary. And it's still, for me personally, I battle fear throughout the whole thing. Like that always comes up, and like, oh, okay, no, it's going to be fine. Right. Like the same thing you said, we're going to have those cycles where you panic and everything's going to be fine. But to zoom out and see what you've done over the last 10 years, is really, really amazing. And you guys have built an incredible team of people who will run through a wall for you and find true meaning in what they're doing. And it's such an accomplishment to be proud of. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you saying that, and appreciate you being involved. I mean, you, like I said, we've known each other for a very long time, and you've seen so much of this. You're actually, I can't really think of anybody else other than, maybe the first 2 or 3 employees that came on board here that would have a better understanding of where we've been and where we are now and kind of where we're going. So it's been really fun, and you've been a huge part of that. And, it's been pretty fun, but,
you guys have done it. I get to be on the sidelines cheering you on, but you guys have done it and put in the work. And I think something that's really important to call out and just continue to double down on. I hope everybody in the industry can like take this to heart. But what you've done so well is play the long game. And like, that's so apparent for the way that you prioritize your family and your why, and also like the integrity of playing the long game with your team members and then the homeowners that you're helping and the relationships that you form. And I think that's what we take for granted when we're first starting, is these relationships that we're forming with the people around us will be with us potentially 10 years from now and pay it forward. I think that's something that everybody on your team has done a really great job with.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think anytime in business, if you're looking at, a very short-term time horizon, I think you're in a dangerous spot, because we can all do things like to maximize like tomorrow's results if we wanted to. Like a lot of flips that we have in the pipeline, we could decide to wholesale those and show a really good April if we want to, but that's not the best long-term decision for the company. And we have kind of ingrained that now, like you said, from TC on up to CEO on up to whoever. Everybody's got a very long-term mindset. So I agree. I think it's really important. And, that's the best thing about interacting with operators like you guys, with Better Path and, all the operators that we know. That's how they think. And all, the beautiful part about this business is we don't have to create anything. There's nothing that we're like inventing here. We just need to simply understand what works, what's been effective, and then be really good at implementing exactly that,
Love it. Wisdom, truth bombs.
Yeah, I mean, this has been awesome. I've loved getting a chance to kind of get to know you guys a little bit better. And I have so much, admiration and respect for what you guys, like I said, what you guys have built, not just in a business, which I think is very difficult, but more importantly, like what you guys have built for a life together and for a life for your family. I think you set such a good example, and you live it, and you go and you help other people to try to encourage them to live it and show them a path that not everybody gets to see. I think that's, we've surrounded ourselves with such a group of people that we forget sometimes that the rest of the world doesn't get to see that level of, motivation of what's possible and what's possible to do things kind of the right way. So I appreciate you guys both so much for coming on, and wish you the continued success moving forward.
This is such a fun double date. I hope we get to do it in person one of these days, but like IRL double date. I'll be in Dallas in a couple weeks, but thank you guys so much for joining us and just kind of letting us behind closed doors a little bit onto the inner workings of this thing.
Yeah, it was a fun idea. We had fun with it. I'm glad Andrea finally got to meet you, Stephanie.
Yes.
And Zach, she's heard about you as well. But I've been, Andrea would tell you, she's been awesome and a big part of what we've done. So I'm glad you guys finally got to meet, and look forward to seeing you in person soon, Stephanie.
Yes, me too. Well, thank you guys again. Until next time.
Yes.
Until next time.
Thank you so much.